Hello, and welcome to the Political Pigpen. We did a little bit of a break last week. It was the election. I figured I'd just, take a breather. So I just did a failed Star Wars video game stream, and then a few minutes later I did a successful one. But tonight, it might be a bit of a shorter episode, probably about maybe under 2 hours tonight. But we're just going to be discussing the election, or rather the aftermath of the election. I mean, technically it's not over, but pretty much, regardless of whether or not the Biden enthusiasts and the doomers both agree that Biden pretty much already won at this point. So, I guess that's the position that I'm coming in here with. But we're just going to do a post-election analysis, and if anything changes within the next several weeks, we'll do like an emergency episode covering that. But for now, I'm starting the episode with the assumption that Biden won. And Fordor, you and I were both on the election cast, from what I remember, back in this was about 2 weeks ago to the day. Yep. And we completely got our prediction wrong. We were completely underestimating those mail-in ballots.
I'm not quite sure. Like 4:30 in the morning after they said they were going to stop counting, they found like hundreds of thousands of more ballots. So
yeah, and no, we went for like 6 hours that night.
Yeah. Definitely interesting. I mean, there's a lot of stuff still in the court. I'd say Trump has like a 5% chance to win at this point. He'd have to flip multiple states in suits. So.
Yeah. Did you end up voting for Jorgensen or Trump?
Oh, Trump, definitely.
I figured. Fogg, you're definitely a hardcore Biden supporter, right?
Yeah, no. I definitely voted for Trump. I don't think it's very probable he flips it at this point. He did seem more confident at the end of last week than he did at the beginning of last week. So they may have something in the works that hasn't quite been revealed yet, but it seems unlikely. And so, yeah, I'm with you. I assume that Biden's going to be president come January. So.
Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah,
no, I can agree with that.
It's very possible that the stuff in Michigan could flip it back. There's a couple of recounts that are going to go on that might do something. I think there was something going on in Pennsylvania that could possibly flip it. So he's not totally out yet, but I give him about a 5% chance. He's probably not going to win.
Well, I think what he has to do is his best course of action would be to cast enough doubt on the legitimacy of the vote in these states, and then the ones that have Republican legislatures get them to appoint their own electors. That's probably his only shot at this point. I don't foresee the courts really going in his favor.
There were a couple ones that might, although the Supreme Court turned down one of them.
Yeah.
I don't even think Barrett's going to go for it, because I actually think that even if she wants Biden, even if she wants Trump, I personally think that Barrett cares too much about precedent to let politics get in the way, and that's why I do think she kind of was a good choice. So I guess there's a double-edged sword there, but yeah.
Well, the thing is, there's a lot of unprecedented things that happened this year. So.
Oh no, totally. No, the thing is, I was half expecting, just because of how 2020 was going. After Trump caught COVID, I was half expecting him to die, because that would have been the most fucking 2020 thing ever.
He just dies. Yeah, I know, dude.
And then Biden dies after that.
Imagine the QAnon would go to permanent cult status at that point if Donald Trump freaking died. They would just.
Oh, yeah.
You don't think they're already a permanent cult?
It would be cemented in this esoteric boomerism would just be forever in our country if Trump died there.
Oh, I love that term, esoteric boomerism. I'm going to use that in the future.
I'm just saying, there has always been esoteric boomerism. That's not a new thing with QAnon. I mean, there are people who believed in the lizard people and whatnot. So
No, but yeah, no, we were talking about that on the Fordor. I forget. Were you on the Hallow stream?
I was watching it.
Yeah, that's right. We were talking about the.
Yeah, I was telling you should cover the Hollow Earth theory, and you eventually got around to it. But you didn't connect the Hollow Earth theory to the lizard people theory, because that's all one theory.
I didn't even know there was a link.
Oh yeah, the lizard people were dinosaurs that were intelligent at the time when the meteor came in, and they all went underground, and now they still live underground, but they're humanoid and they put on human suits. Like that, it's all connected.
Okay. You think Joe Biden's actually like a lizard person?
You know, I think cameras are good enough now that he doesn't pixelate out, so probably not.
No. Fair enough. I think Biden's just is he even a boomer, or isn't he like a super boomer? He's like older than a boomer.
Greatest generation or whatever.
Yeah, he was born. Was he born before the Second World War?
Well, I
don't think so.
He's in his 70s, so even if he's 80.
1927, let's see, is
the
greatest generation.
He would have been born in 1940.
Yeah, no, he is
so,
boomer.
Yeah. Well, yeah, he's because he's younger than my grandfather, who was too young to fight in World War II.
Is it silent? Hang on.
No.
Silent is the one who are the people born in the 30s, like the ones who couldn't quite fight in World War II yet, but were children during it.
Well, they could fight in Korea. That was that was my grandfather. He was
Biden was born in
Korea,
42.
Vietnam. He was born in 33.
So baby boomers are the start cutoff date for baby boomers is 46, and Biden was born in 1942. So he is whatever generation was before boomer.
So silent.
Yeah, that's silent generation. But yeah. But with regards to like before the election, I know Fordor, you were leaning towards Trump in terms of just like who you objectively thought was going to win.
Yes.
But what about you, Fogg? Were you certain that any one particular candidate was gonna win, or who did you think was? Because I remember I asked if you wanted to be on the election coverage stream, but you like had work. You had to do some like remote work or something.
Yeah, I work too much, but no. It actually went about what I expected. I thought that Biden would win, but it would be narrower than the polls were showing. So, I mean, it was actually narrower than I thought it was going to be.
Oh yeah, I thought that personally, I was half expecting Biden to do better. Like back before the election happened, over the course of months, I kept like alternating between who I thought was going to get it, who wasn't, because you kept having, like, I was leaning towards Biden getting it all the way up until the George Floyd and then the riots, and then the Democrats like not really doing anything. And then Trump was like doing like his whole law and order shtick. I was like, oh yeah, the Democrats are kind of being a bit incompetent here. I think they might lose. I feel like a lot of people might think that they're like supporting these riots and stuff because they're kind of just like not saying anything. Exactly.
I mean, I did couch all of my predictions of Trump in unless the Democrats cheat a lot, like more than usual. And I think there might be some proof that they did. I don't know. The court battles are gonna happen.
Yeah. No, but the thing is, so I consider that, but then at the same time, I feel like Trump would have won if he did not fuck up COVID.
Yeah, I think
I feel like, or at least it would have been closer.
I think that if they allowed his public messages on the news stations, that people wouldn't have thought he was fucking up COVID as much, but they didn't.
Yeah. Do you think he did? I mean, it seems like, I mean,
I don't know that he could have done anything better.
I mean, like, yeah, go ahead.
I'm not trying to like do a got you or anything, but I'm just curious. How do you think he
Okay,
could have done better, or how do you think? In what way do you think that he did the best he could?
So, I mean,
Go ahead.
I think that the utilization of the supply lines or the supply infrastructure of these large companies. I remember when he trotted out all the CEOs from Walmart and Walgreens and so on.
Yeah.
I think that was about the maximum extent of what was in his powers. I think if Biden goes above and beyond,
he could have done more. There were things he could have done, although it would have had an even stronger impact on the economy than COVID had anyway. So I think he made the right call there.
So one of our viewers, Drop Forged, actually just made an interesting comment. He said Trump fucked up COVID. Last time I checked, the governors were the one controlling health policies. What do you guys have to say about that?
That's what I was going to get to.
Absolutely.
I don't necessarily disagree with that. But,
frankly, I think one of the silver linings of COVID is that a lot of the day-to-day governance, I'm glad that this went back to the governors, and that this wasn't overseen by a federal power.
Yeah, I think governors know what's best for their state, except in New York.
No, except for California.
Oh, and California.
Yeah.
California and New York.
Okay, can we talk about just how incompetent of a human being Bill de Blasio is for a second?
I mean, is it a matter of competence, or is he just or is he just kind of a manifestation of what the party there wants him to do, right?
That's an interesting way of looking at it. Honestly, I think Cuomo is competent. I don't think he's a good person necessarily. I think he's competent, but his policies are shit. But at the same time, I don't think he did terrible on some fronts. I mean, it was pretty bad that he ended up. He basically sent a bunch of COVID patients to old folks' home. But the whole part of that could have been his plan to get rid of the old population or something.
Well, that's the early COVID deaths were, in
it was all old people.
Michigan, Pennsylvania.
I'm pretty sure that was most of the COVID deaths. I mean,
yeah.
No. Was it Cuomo or de Blasio that sent all the old people?
I don't remember exactly. I mean,
it was one of them. But basically, COVID then started a feud between de Blasio and Cuomo, vying over control, because de Blasio was like, "I'm mayor of New York City. New York City's mine," and Cuomo was like, "Oh yeah, I'm governor of New York State, so thereby New York City is by default mine." And it was just this big stupid thing. It was the centrist versus the progressive, and I was thoroughly in that. Everyone hates de Blasio now, and I hope he fucking loses.
Oh, he probably will.
Yeah. The thing is, and I also don't like how he's so pro teachers union. Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of public sector unions.
I think they're parasites.
I don't know about that. I have some issues with the teachers union in particular, but I think that it's very easy for the state to take advantage of a particular group, when the because who are you trying to negotiate against, right? You're trying to negotiate against the U.S. government, and the U.S. government is or actually probably the case of the
state government,
the state governments, but still, the whole idea of unions is to level the playing field.
Collective bargaining power.
It's a pluralist system to try to check, kind of checks and balances within the wider economy as a whole.
The thing is that they have another avenue to go down. They can campaign to replace the person that is in charge of figuring out their budgets and how they're paid and stuff.
I don't know. I think that's tough. I don't think it's. I think as far as do do we want money spent on that, right?
We shouldn't be subsidizing unions. Like that's a conflict. Like I feel like unions, like public sector unions especially, are a bit of a conflict of interest because they're donating to a political party when they're supposed to be representing a specific like nonpartisan aspect of the public labor force. But then they're donating to a private party that represents different. The thing is, unions like to pretend, and this I mean both public and private in this case. Like I'm personally pro private sector union, but but when referring to unions in general, they pretend like they're not special interest groups when in reality, especially no, they literally they outright say that no, unions aren't like hold on. Let me
They lie.
Yeah. No, but the thing is they're a kind of corporation. They are a business.
Clearly.
But their whole business is they are in the business of protecting workers from other businesses and certain like in actual market industries.
That's their stated goal, at least. Yeah.
Yeah, no, but the thing with teachers unions though is that the reason. So I think teachers should be paid more, but the thing is with teachers unions, teachers unions protect the lowest common denominator in terms of like really shitty teachers.
Yeah.
And if you have a shitty teacher, they just get shuffled around to the The Fog's gonna appreciate this. It's like Fog's gonna appreciate this one, but it's like pedophiles in the church. If you have a bad teacher, they just get peddled or they just get moved to the next school district,
or they just don't get moved to another school district and just keep being a bad teacher in that one.
No, I mean, like I said, I mean, I have particular issues with the teachers union. But I mean, all these things are about trade-offs, right? Is it worth? I mean, what percentage of bad employees are you protecting? Like, what's the nature of their badness, right? Is it worth a 10% bump or equal negotiating power of the teachers? I mean, maybe, right? I think that very often with like these positives outweigh the negatives. That tends to be my position of late. I don't think anybody pretends that these are perfect scenarios,
except for the unions themselves. But the main problem is the reason teachers are so underpaid right now, public school teachers, is because they hire too many fucking administrators. Like
they're part of it.
New York City, or not New York City, New York State in general, the ratio of administrators at a public school to teacher is 8-1. Why do you need like 10 assistant principals? You need like
that's
two max.
A lot of
max.
Subsidized industries, right? It's the same in healthcare, in higher education. I mean, even state. I mean, all sorts of. I mean, specifically government.
It's a problem in a lot of fields. Yeah.
Yeah. The administrative state. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. But I think that public sector unions are generally a bad idea because they're using their bargaining power against the people that, pay them, who are us. And I think that they have the avenue of campaigning for, like, as individuals or even getting together to campaign for someone who would give them a raise rather than using their bargaining power through a union to, do walkouts or whatever they are going to do to try and get a pay raise that way.
Yeah, I think I mean, I don't typically count on like the benevolence of the voter. I think people would vote to do all sorts of pretty crummy things.
Yeah, no, and we were talking about that on the if you remember, you were on the liberalism stream, right? This is a couple months ago, where we're talking about I mean, not the democracy debate from 3 weeks ago, But the liberalism stream where we were talking about like one of the downsides to democracy was that you have the lowest common denominator, more or less, being able to make decisions, and how whether or not that is even like moral or not, that they have a say over other people's lives. So,
well, I'm a libertarian. I think the government should have less say over people's lives in general.
I mean, I think we can all agree. Well, to an extent, we can all agree on that, depending on how we define government in this case.
Yeah, I would. I mean, like I said before, pragmatically, like I want the government like out of my life, and I want the government out of like the lives of competent persons, right?
But not incompetent persons.
No, but the problem is that most persons, I don't think, like
are competent.
Act well unrestrained, right?
Oh no, totally.
I honestly think you should let those people fail.
Yeah. Fordor, I don't want to put words in your mouth, Fordor, but didn't you say your most like controversial opinion is that like if people fail, just let them die?
I mean, I think we should get rid of the welfare system entirely. If we replace it, I think we should replace it with something that like trains people, like a trade school type thing.
No, 100%. Yes, I agree. The closest thing to welfare I'd support would be like a UBI, maybe.
There's problems with that and the incentives that it gives.
Yeah, no, I do agree with that, but like, or maybe like a UBI, and then if they waste their money, that's their fault.
Maybe a time-based UBI. So when it will go for a certain amount of time and then stop.
Until they get a job.
No, I don't think until they get a job. Well, I mean that would be a cutoff, but I think there should be a like unemployment is supposed to work, where it pays out for a certain amount of time and then cuts off. Because honestly, I don't think giving people money solves a lot of the problems that they're having.
No, it's putting a bandage on a wound.
Yeah, and then they get addicted to Band-Aids.
Yeah, I don't.
It's not a bad way of wording it.
A buddy of mine's a libertarian. Well, I mean, he's in the Republican. He's a Republican politician.
Is he like a Rand Paul type?
He is a Rand Paul type, yeah. And I was talking with him the other day, and I was like, so I mean, he's against. I mean, he's very minimalist on not a government.
Is he like basically an ANCAP, or would you say he's more of a minarchist?
I mean, he definitely has some ANCAP tendencies, but anyways, I was trying to say to him, I'm like, I don't understand why people get paid to do nothing when there's trash on the highway, right? Yeah. Like, there's very very basic job programs that we could do that would not be overly, you wouldn't have to overwork these people, right? You wouldn't have to abuse these people. These are just basic. There's work that needs to be done, and there's no reason. I mean, unless you're injured or something, there's like.
I think disability is definitely in a different category than just
for sure. Right, like I mean, or even unemployment. Frankly, I mean, I know a lot of people like you need.
The way unemployment's supposed to work, though, you pay into it while you're working, and then you get paid for a certain amount of time afterwards. I mean, they've extended it past that point, and it's gone ridiculous. But I think the general idea of it is not terrible.
Right. Yeah. No. Yeah. I think though. I mean, especially at states, at the state level. Like there's all sorts of things that the government could be paying people to do that would give them a productive activity, instead of simply paying them to sit around and do nothing. Like, if you're a healthy adult, you can pick up trash on the freaking highway.
Yeah, instead of incentivizing us to keep more people in prison so we can have them do it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I don't think that private prisons should really be a thing either. Definitely, they shouldn't be utilized for work to make money for private prisons. That's an perverse incentive as well.
What about indentured servitude? What's your position on indentured servitude if it's voluntary? Because like my view on that's kind of controversial, I suppose.
It's a type of loan, basically. I mean,
so
if it's voluntary,
as long as it's regulated, I would say. Like if they don't like fucking beat them.
So I don't want to dox myself here, but I work.
Don't worry. I won't say your name.
I worked for a company. Do you have my real name? I've got like a dozen names. I don't even know if I gave it.
Yeah.
Well, don't say it.
Okay.
Yeah. Don't say it.
I know.
I don't know what you got. Don't say it.
It's related. Yeah, it's related to the time when I was born, though. So that's all I'll say.
Oh, good. Okay, you don't have my real name. That's good. You have a pseudonym. Anyways.
Yeah. That's okay. Okay.
All right. Anyways, oh shit, what was I saying? Yeah, I lost my train. Oh yeah. So I was working. I was working for a company that basically they provided training, and in exchange for that training, you had to work a contract. And if you did not finish that contract, you had to pay that company back. And that's essentially indentured servitude.
It's
right?
literally indentured servitude.
Yeah. And so there are forms of that are happening today. Yeah. I mean, it's much more like regulated, obviously.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's essentially a loan. You're just paying it back through labor rather than paying it back through money.
Yep. Yeah, no, it's I think that if you have basic worker protections in place, that I mean it's a great thing for people who, I mean, like, right, like, so like it's hard for companies to want to take the risk on recent college grads, right? Because I mean, a lot of people just have zero transferable skills from college. And so you have to train these people up to a certain level of competency, and that costs money, right? They're on the payroll while they're there. And if you're training them, you're just wasting money. And especially for like small and medium-sized companies, that you just don't want to do that. And so like the ability to have that sort of guarantee, right? Like either, a contracting firm has indentured servants, so to speak, or even you have somebody who is paying you back for training at like a reduced wage, something to that effect. Like if you have a guarantee of return on your training expenses, like it goes a long way for getting people with low skills, right? And experience in a company. So I think there's definitely, I mean, I think it's a good avenue for employment for sure. So.
I had one more thing to say. I mean, with informed consent on the person signing up to the agreement, I don't have any problem with it. But I think that they definitely need to have informed consent. They need to know like what the work conditions are going to be, how long they're going to be working, what type of hours, that sort of thing. They need to know all of that before they agree. But if they agree, then I don't see a problem with it.
I agree with that. If anybody gets a reference.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so speaking of, I agree with that. Dave Rubin was freaking out that Biden won.
Okay.
Dude, I don't know why I said that. But I just love shitting on Dave Rubin. Like he's literally the definition of a cathedral boomer con.
I've never watched Dave Rubin. I gotta be honest.
I've watched like 2 or 3 episodes of his show, but it's really boring.
I used to really like him, like maybe like 3 years ago, when I was like that was back when I was getting like libertarian pilled. And then after that I graduated to like better things like Tom Woods.
You're still on the tame stuff though. You're just wait. It'll keep coming.
What Tom? I mean, Tom Woods. He's a little. I don't want to say he's not extreme, but like he's a little more like he's way more principled than somebody like Ruben. He's like way more like proper in terms of like what it should be. Like he sort of has a sort of conservative spirit, but he's also like that, like like you know what I mean.
Yeah, I'm pretty divorced from a lot of these pundits, to be honest. Most of
That's good. Honestly, I think that is the healthiest lifestyle to live, especially if you're just starting a family.
I mean, like my consult. Like, what do I even do for politics right now? I mean, I check. I mean, I check the headlines. I read Yarvin's Substack, Curtis Yarvin.
He's fun, yeah.
But yeah, man. I mean, dude, I don't even have cable, so I'm pretty divorced from a lot of the really mainstream political conversation lately.
So I don't want to put, but back to the election, especially just looking in hindsight, not just the election in general, but but just the Democratic primary process. I don't, like I said, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I recall you and I were having a conversation. I think it was just you and I think it was on Discord chat on a server that we're on. You were making an interesting argument in favor of all people, Mike Bloomberg. I don't know if that's still your position now, but I remember you were arguing that he would have been good for stability. Yeah, I think that was you.
Yeah, I mean, it's similar to Biden, right? I'm not really actually overly pessimistic about a Biden presidency. I mean, as far as what they're signaling right now, they seem to be shutting some of the more progressives out of the administration, right? I think that the party realizes, and I know some lefties won't really like this narrative, but I think the party realizes that Black Lives Matter hurt them dramatically for this election.
Oh yeah, no, they totally just said that like after
did.
Democrats underperformed in the primary. Like I'm the state that I'm in, we had a representative who was like, no, it was a fucking terrible idea to say defund the police. And then you also had Senator Manchin from West Virginia who was saying, no, I'm a conservative Democrat. I'm for the people. I'm for the people. I'm for health care, but I'm also for he's basically saying like I'm just like a populist conservative Democrat. Fuck all the socialism, defund the police stuff. So,
And not only that, like when you look at how the donor bases have shifted, I don't really anticipate, the party that is funded by Wall Street now, doing anything overly radical.
oh yeah.
So I mean, I suspect a lot of liberals in the party, a lot of liberals in the base, just want like a 2012 reset.
And the great reset. No, I think, and I know Fogg's going to get this, but we need a civilization reset.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. I mean,
I guess that's a bit of a dog. I guess that's a bit of a dog whistle to the trads, but
yeah. No, I mean, we'll see. I think. I mean, I don't know. I'm actually pretty optimistic about the future of things, all things considered. I mean, especially relative to where I was like a year or so ago.
Yeah, I remember you were pretty pessimistic a year ago.
Well, yeah, I think. I mean, I don't think it's going to be great.
Totally not. No, but the thing is, it wasn't going to be great with Trump either.
But like, I think I'm not feeling the doom like I was a year ago. I think Biden's going to be basically fine. Even if he's gone, I mean, Kamala's a cop,
Yeah, no, the thing is, yeah. No, but the thing is with Biden, I think he's, and I don't know, conservative maybe that he even lets on. Like
Biden's basically a moderate from what I've heard and seen in his voting record.
Cathedral standards, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he might. I mean, I suspect that Biden is just going to be party line. I don't know how much Biden. I mean, for a variety of reasons, I don't know how much local agency Biden actually has. And so
I'm guessing he's just going to do whatever they tell him to do.
yeah,
He's going to do whatever Corn Pop tells him to do.
like yeah, like I mean, if it's president, I mean, if it's basically like President Pelosi or something, right? Like again, it's gonna suck because there's some stuff that I would, I don't really want them to be like,
Yeah, like social
Parenthood or something, but like, it's not going to be that bad. It's just going to be freaking 2012.
I don't know. It depends on how loud the people telling them to go to war with like Russia or other random stronger countries are.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I mean, I guess like Bill Kristol's gone Democrat now, so we'll see if dude, like
at least the neocons are getting out of the Republican Party.
This realignment is crazy. Like the neocons and Wall Street are like Democrat this election. I mean, what the hell?
The thing is, the whole thing. The thing about the parties is it's all a front. It has nothing to do with actual party loyalty. The thing is, it's just all a facade because it's the same. It's the managerial elite. Fogg, you're familiar with Burnham, right? Like
you know what facade rhymes with? No, anyway, sorry. No, okay. I won't finish the joke. Continue. Yeah.
Oh no, I was just saying you're familiar with like James Burnham with his managerial revolution and all that. About it's just you have the basically. I think it was basically the concept of back in the 40s and 50s, the elites more or less revolted against the West. The Western elite revolted against the civilization itself and ultimately ended up capturing its corporate infrastructure, the intelligentsia, and just all of that in general. And right now we're just they basically just shift like between different parties and everything depending upon what's convenient for them and their narrative. I mean, we're just seeing the same bullshit, but it's just expressing itself in a very strange way.
I don't think Trump lined up with that. But
Trump was hijacked by the elite. That's the thing. He ran a fantastic campaign back in 2016. He ran a shitty ass campaign this time around.
I don't know. I mean, his campaign wasn't bad. I think
they didn't cover it much. That's what his problem was.
No, I think that might have been it because the thing is, I think I don't know if we can all agree on this, but this has always been my opinion. CNN got Donald Trump elected back in 2016.
Oh, definitely. I mean, the amount of free advertising they gave him was ridiculous. They gave that mistake again.
$6 million. I think it was $6 million worth of free advertising they gave him.
Yeah, because they covered him every waking moment.
Because he was funny. Because he's entertaining.
They actually covered what he was saying. This time they were just complaining about him, but not covering what he was saying. In fact, refusing to cover what he was saying when he was addressing people. And I think that played a major role in him not winning in like a landslide.
I mean, he had pretty big turnout. I think that's what that stuff generates. I do think you're probably right to an extent. But I mean, the ballot harvesting, right, and the sending out of all of the ballots, I think was the massive uptick in turnout.
Yeah,
that was generated by that. I think is what.
Also keep in mind, like Texas in early voting topped what they did in 2016.
Yeah,
the total votes in Texas in 2016 didn't even get to where early voting got this year.
Yeah. No, I mean COVID was a total game changer. Yeah, I mean for just many reasons.
Yeah.
But yeah, universal mail-in ballots, I think, definitely played a big role in this, and I think it was a terrible idea. But
no, the thing is, okay, so you're definitely going to disagree with me here, Fordor. But I think the whole mail-in ballots thing, that was a giant boogeyman. Oh, Aristocratic Owl, I see you're now in the chat. I will bring you in as soon as I finish making this point. Just letting you know. But no, I think the whole mail-in ballots thing was it's just. I mean, I've done absentee before. I did absentee.
Mail-in ballots are not the same thing.
They basically are, though. Like, plus we're in the middle of a global pandemic too, and so that is extenuating circumstances. But the thing is, under most I think they opened mail-in ballots way too early. But I think on principle, like, people have a right to be safe, and they have a right to vote. Like, regardless of, I mean, personally, I think I have my criticisms of democracy and how suffrage works in this country. I think you should be able to. I think that voting is something that should be earned. But like the way it stands right now, you have the right to vote, and if you don't want to go out, and even if it's a small chance, there's still a chance that if you go outside, you could die, basically. Like,
if you're like 70 or older, or you have other health conditions. I mean, the death rate among people that aren't in that category is personally, basically nothing.
Personally, I basically, my whole thing is, I don't think it's as big of a problem as a lot of people, like a lot of other people on the right, like, think it is. Like, they talk about, oh, it's like a conspiracy. Democrats are going to tamper with it. It's like, okay, yeah, maybe a little. I'm not necessarily going to discount that, because that is a very likely possibility, like it is in all political systems. Corruption is everywhere. But but my whole thing for this was, I basically used Pascal's wager when I was doing this. I was like, okay, so it is better to vote in person and for there not to be voter fraud than to do a mail-in ballot and to risk the potential of there being voter fraud. So I voted in person. So I just used Pascal's wager.
I mean, I'm not a big fan of Pascal's wager, but I just think that
no. The thing is, Pascal's wager works for a lot of things. It's just the logic of it.
It's
more because the whole thing of Pascal's wager, it's better be safe.
It's better to be safe than sorry. Sure, kind of, but I think it's inherently fallacious.
I mean, if you're using Pascal's wager as an argument for God, sure. But the thing is, Pascal's wager is misunderstood, because the whole concept of it is an argument why you should believe in God. But I think we're getting a little too metaphysical here. Anyway, so Aristocratic Owl has joined us. Our one of our favorite, more reactionary guests. How are you doing this evening, Aristocrat?
I'm doing fine. I see you decided to take on the archetypical character with rolling with Biden in recent weeks.
More of a pragmatic thing. I just think he's better for stability. So I think that's kind of where I think he's better.
Given the fact that his VP is Kamala Harris, do you really think he's better for stability?
I hate Kamala with all. I hate Kamala with all my heart, but I do, and I'll get into that in a little bit. But the thing is, with basically what I did is, or what I think is that I rooted for Biden in terms. I didn't vote for Biden. Like, I could not bring myself to vote for Biden, but I rooted for Biden to win the presidency. But I voted conservative down the board for
everything else.
Because the thing is, I think Republicans are really only good Republicans when they control Congress. Because, like, look back, like, the Tea Party stopped being the Tea Party back after Trump won, and then they became like, fucking, let's spend out of the ass. Like, the thing is, I think that the country is best stabilized when Republicans control Congress and when Democrats control the presidency.
One of the things I would argue from my own political view is that I think the one thing I wouldn't want to see with an election is going back to another 4 to 8 years of the George W. Bush presidency, where he just basically perpetuated the lie on, My Constitution. Go shop at malls. That's how we'll beat the terrorists.
Did George Bush do that?
Yes, he actually said that. That was one of his statements.
I mean, George
He did quite a few stimulus things, yeah.
George Bush was. I mean, the thing is, what we need to remember about neoconservatives. Neoconservatives are communists that believe in center-right economics. I'm not even joking.
Can you explain that?
Well,
They
I
were
mean,
Trotsky-
they're
they were-
ex-Trotskyists. The neoconservatives
epistemologically-
are ex-Trotskyists. Just
Yeah.
look at all of them.
Yep, on foreign policy, they're Trotskyists, or at the very least, former Lyndon B. Johnson style liberals. And
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about like just. Well, I don't want to go down that rabbit hole too far, but you're talking about just this basic core of persons. Most people who would be referred to as neocons during the aughts, I don't think you can really describe to them.
No.
Fair
Yeah, I think
enough,
there's
but
neocon the colloquial and neocon the actual philosophical, like.
I mean, if you could talk
conservative
about like
school of thought.
okay, well, fair enough.
Yeah.
But what I'm trying to mainly get at was continuing down this dumb rabbit hole of people constantly thinking that the Constitution has some sort of power with sovereign power still, even though a Constitution only has as much sovereign authority, sovereign power that a sovereign authority allows it to have.
It hasn't since Wilson. Arguably, you could even make the argument that it hasn't since Abraham Lincoln. I'd make the argument since Wilson because, unlike probably all of you guys, I still think Lincoln has some redeeming factors.
I mean, I would argue that it hasn't mattered since, well. Oh, man,
are you more of an Articles of Confederation guy, aristocrat?
Oh no, I'm a Federalist. I'm a Hamiltonian, hard
Cringe.
downright.
I fucking hate Hamilton. I mean, I like the musical Hamilton, but I hate Alexander Hamilton as a person.
I hate the musical, love the person.
Why do you hate the musical? It's a good musical.
No, well, I guess I should say I hate the Disney remake. I hate the rap.
Should make a political compass of like likes the musical, likes the person.
That'd be funny. Yeah. But anyways,
no. But the thing
getting
is,
back to the post-election stuff, I would say actually one of the benefits of a Biden election is the idea that I think the Democrats played the hand way too much. Like they played too many of their cards, and now that they could be in a serious rude awakening, because that would leave Trump. That would basically leave Trump open to actually strike back. Because if you actually look at previous elections, they've done this in the past where they've done all these sketchy things just so they can get different people an election. We've seen that the Democrats have in previous used the people who are already dead as extra votes to push it further. The names of people who are dead.
I'm gonna be the fact checker right here. Is that true? Like, do you have any evidence?
There are definitely individual cases of that.
This is mostly me just okay. The reason I'm saying this, I'm trying to cover my. I'm not saying I don't believe you guys because I'm sure there's some hanky panky going on there, but I don't want to get removed or demonetized or anything.
There are definitely at least 3 cases that people have found where dead people definitely voted that died over 50 years before the election.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think people dispute that there's some. I think people are wondering whether it's significant enough to change.
Yeah, I have no idea what the number that happened are. I know of at least 3 cases where it was proven that did happen. Now, 3 is not a large number.
That is true. The thing is, I honestly don't think that there's any more or any less voter fraud than there always is. I think there was more fraud.
Opportunity.
Because I think Fogg, Aristocrat, and I can agree that democracy is more or less a sham at this point.
I mean, it's always been a sham, but go on.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm basically just saying, it's just it's a front for the rule of money at this point. And I'm not saying that from a socialist perspective because I'm most certainly not a socialist. I'm saying that from.
I mean, it's not really a front for the rule of money. It's more like it's a sham no matter what.
Well, democratic socialism would be even worse.
The evolution
I mean,
of liberalism
Spending. Oh,
is a
I
front.
mean,
for
I
a lot.
like liberalism. I mean, I still consider I very much still consider myself a liberal, but I just think that a lot of there are definitely a lot of epistemological problems with liberalism from a philosophical perspective,
So one of the
especially
things
the
that
materialism aspect.
if we ever want to get back on topic to the question of mail-in ballots, I recently just linked an article to the American Mind where Josh Hammer goes into detail about questioning the
Wait, hold
legitimacy
on.
of
What
a
is
million ballots.
so Claremont? Are they how accurate? I don't like I said I don't want to get in
So
trouble with
They're
YouTube. How
typically pretty good, but
Mhm.
they have a lot of editorial leeway, so you gotta be careful. But
so
They're
are they
probably
kind of they're kind
the
of like Mises maybe?
no,
sort of, except
more right wing.
think of they're the closest that a reactionary institution could get to the mainstream without basically getting demonetized and getting completely defrocked. So they basically have enough power and influence where they won't be
Well,
fully destroyed.
They hosted a couple essays from Curtis Yarvin.
Yeah.
Okay, so it looks like a sort of the American conservative. I'm just covering my bases here because I'm just
it's probably not a bad idea to cover your bases with YouTube how it is currently.
yeah. I'm open to all sources. Like for instance, I've cited everything from fucking socialist on here from socialist websites
All the way down
to
to the Daily Beast.
to the Daily Beast speaking of which, Daily Beast today ended up releasing an article about the new Call of Duty game about how it's a bunch of Reagan loving right wing like jerk off or something, like a circle jerk or something, and I'm like, okay, I don't even label myself as a right winger or a left winger, of course. I think everyone knows that, but I'm like, that makes me want to get the game even more because it's like they advocate, or it's like they push for you committing war crimes, and I'm like, that sounds like so much fun. It's a fucking shooter game. Of course you're gonna commit war crimes.
I mean, No Russian was a good mission.
No Russian was a fun, yeah, like no
Disavow.
What?
Disavow.
Demonetized.
I mean, this
it
is-
looks like your article that you linked. They're talking about some statistical anomalies, and I definitely they're talking about the rejection rate going down in Georgia, and I definitely think that that's worth investigating. It's not like hard evidence though, but
well, I know it's not hard evidence, but it's one of those, like, you have all these different irregularities that happen during a presidential election, and maybe 1 to 2, but when you start to see about maybe 3 or 4, that's when you're like, wait a minute, what's happening here? This is really just...
Apparently Victor David Hansen is affiliated with them.
Yes, he is.
I did see somewhere.
He's a solid historian.
I did see somewhere, and I don't remember where it was exactly, that the rejection rate for mail-in ballots this year was like 30 times less than what absentee ballots are normally at.
So the issue with this is like, it wouldn't surprise me at all if there was massive fraud. The issue is
it never surprises me. There's always fraud, whether it's in favor of Republicans or Democrats.
The issue is that, like, what are your avenues to collect evidence to make that claim, right? Like, just because you think that official sources lie doesn't mean like unofficial sources are good. And so you have to have, you're basically forced into sort of an agnosticism about these topics. So, to
a certain extent, I see what you're saying, although it's something where I'm very skeptical, extremely skeptical of everything that's happened around the election, basically.
That's good. I think people should be skeptical, but I think it's good to extend that skepticism to
I
alternative.
mean, for instance, you have areas like I believe it was North Carolina, how they're just counting and counting, and we were there, Politicrat, during the election at 3 a.m. in the morning, where basically,
or
and
6
then
hour
all of a
stream.
sudden they're just like, okay, we're gonna stop and just continue late. I'm like, wait a minute, have you never heard of multiple shifts? I mean, come on, McDonald's could do a better job than you.
Yeah. Yeah, no, but I just think, I mean, they probably, like, I feel like Donald Trump, okay, this is me getting a little conspiratorial here, but I feel like Donald Trump, I think Donald Trump is proof that democracy actually works. The fact that he was elected. And the thing is, the managerial class, who basically more or less controls the system as a whole, got really pissed because they're like, shit, we've been trying to peddle this like fake meta narrative that democracy works, whereas we install our favorite leader, and we've been doing this since fucking Reagan, and they're like, okay, yeah, no, but we don't like this now because now democracy is like fighting against us, and so because they wanted Hillary, and then they were just like, okay, we can fuck over Trump now, and let's just put in Biden.
Just so you know, I found the New York Times even saying that the rejection rate for mail-in ballots was lower than it has been in any other election. So
Interesting.
Yeah,
Okay, I'll put up that.
I don't like the New York Times, but if they're even
I hate
saying
the
it,
Times. No, I'm more of a Wall Street journal. No. The thing is, I reject the New York Times. I read the Journal personally.
okay, but I think it's against their interests to admit that, and even they're admitting it.
Yeah, that's a good.
I mean, it's kind of obvious. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're saying, yeah, Fulton County, Georgia, home to Atlanta. Oh, Georgia. Yeah. No, that's a good conversation to have. Well, what do you guys think of Georgia right now? Like, honestly, I thought this entire time I've always thought Stacey Abrams was a complete clown, but she proved to be more competent than I'd previously thought she was in organizing all of the Georgia voters, even some conservatives, to go out and get Biden elected. Like, I think if there's any state that Trump actually won, it would be hypothetically Pennsylvania. But I do think I do think Biden legitimately won Georgia, and I think that's because somehow the Democrats because I was probably wrong about Stacey Abrams. She's probably not as much of a clown as I thought she was.
You do realize the gap between Joe Biden and Donald Trump in Georgia is less than 10,000 votes. Like, a recount could definitely flip that.
I mean,
it's not even called. Like, the Associated Press hasn't even called that state yet.
I mean, to be fair, when you see things in Pennsylvania like saying Philadelphia at 100% success rate, like you know, yeah, some shitty stuff. Well,
the projected number of voters is not like a hard thing. That's not how many people are registered.
Well, right, but at the same time, when you see such a high level in Philadelphia,
it is,
and you also have to
odd.
take into consideration that technically speaking, that would also be a mathematical fallacy to say that you have 100% in some sort of statistic or mathematical analysis is right. To say something's 100.
I think your understanding of where that percentage comes from is off a little bit. The projected number of voters is not like a hard number. It can go above 100% if more people than they were expecting to vote. It's not how many people are registered.
Right, but what I was mainly referring to is the fact that something that, like, within mathematical problems and equations, and even within statistics itself, it's considered a fallacy to say that you are 100% right on every single problem, because there's always something wrong, quintessentially.
I think your example of mathematics is the only realm where that isn't true. You can be 100% certain with some problems that you are correct.
Okay,
What?
so guys, real
Wait,
quick,
when I say
just
100%?
to show how much. Oh, finish what you're saying. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was trying to remember. Wait, it might have been.
I think you might
No
have
way.
that
I think.
backwards.
Yeah, I think it was. It's a mathematical fallacy to say that there's something that's always a 0% error rate. Yeah, to say that there's something that's a 0% error rate is a mathematical fallacy. So, because there's always some sort of error rate within whenever you're doing statistic analysis.
I think you got to be a little
Basically.
more specific about that claim. I think I know I know what you're getting at when you say that, like, but I wouldn't call it a mathematical fallacy. I think, like,
Well, no, it is a mathematical fallacy. I actually know a. I actually was chatting to someone who is a math professor at Xavier University, and I just doxed myself where close to, where
It's
I
fine.
live. But anyways,
We only have
but he
3
was
viewers,
telling
right?
me
We
that
only have-
yes, it's a
we only have, like,
mathematical
2 or 3
fallacy to
viewers
say
right
that
now.
you can have a 0% error rate.
well, okay. I mean, I don't want to be autistic about this. All right, but basically, like, it depends on what you're measuring. Right?
Yeah.
Like, if I'm gonna take statistics on how many times I drop a basketball and it falls to the ground, right? And 100% of the time it's gonna fall to the ground, right?
Well, unless there's something in the way.
Sure. I mean, in a controlled setting, right? Like, so, like, what you're talking about is if you're running like regressions or something, you're not going to have a perfect fit when you're,
If you're trying to figure out the
what I'm
percentage of
trying
people
to
who can figure out 2 plus 2, and you hand 1,000 people a quiz, what's 2 plus 2, and they answer it, the error rate's probably going to be 0.
Well, no, but the point I'm trying to make is when looking at most of these statistic numbers about how high that you're seeing within these counties and voting, if you start hearing people say that there's no error rate in there, it's technically a fallacy to assume that there's no error rate within those statistics. Whenever you're seeing the numbers in those counties, that's what I was trying to get at.
It's not
Yeah,
even necessarily a
think there was
fallacy.
a-
They're just wrong.
Yeah. I mean,
I agree. There's always going to be an error rate in that.
There was there's a guy on Twitter. Follow him. Hank Oslo is pretty good. But he had a line where he said he was talking about how he had worked with persons or with people who are employed like data entry, right? And he said, really, no matter what you do, if you're trying to get people to like enter data into a machine, you're not really going to get your error rate below like such and such a percent, like 2% or something, right? And so the idea that like a freaking like that there would be a precinct or a batch of votes that goes 100% for one candidate. I mean, come on. You're telling me all of these people like filled out their ballots perfectly,
I don't think anybody was saying they're expecting a county to have 100% for one candidate. I think we were talking about the expected number of voters for the resulting.
Yeah, but this is like a related issue with people talking about the 100% batches going for Biden or something.
Yeah,
like that.
People make mistakes, definitely.
Yeah. But it's just, I don't know. I just kind of included that as one of the irregularities that we've been seeing within the election. But mail-in ballots are probably the most.
I think the biggest red flag is them putting up boards to block the vote counting watching people.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that's a pretty big red flag.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And requiring that the Republican vote watching people stand 25 feet away. That's another pretty big red flag. You can't validate when you're correcting a ballot if they copied it correctly from 25 feet away.
Oh, yeah.
Because apparently if people messed up their ballots, they are allowed to make a copy of that person's ballot how they believe it was supposed to be in, which I think is arguably not a great idea either way. But if they are going to do it, having one person from each side watching is a good idea. And
Oh, it's a great idea.
they
At least for
require,
optics.
since they were 25 feet away, there's no way they can validate that. It's impossible.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So, oh shit, what was I going to say? Oh yeah, I wanted to move on and talk about what you guys feel like. Actually, nah, not go on to that quite yet. Let's talk about the stability, if possible, of Biden administration. In comparison, because the thing is, I think Donald Trump, I do think he has done a handful of good things. Or not even a handful. I think he's done more than a handful of good things that have been a net positive.
Mm-hmm.
However, I do think that he brings out the worst in people, both Republicans and Democrats, albeit for different reasons.
I can agree with that.
Well,
There
it's
are
not
two- there are-
necessarily he brings out the worst in people. It's like the people decide to bring out the worst because they just want to scream at him no matter what.
Well, yeah, no, I agree, but like there are two kinds of Trump derangement syndrome. There are those who want to suck Trump's dick no matter what, and there are those who think there are those who think he's Hitler no matter what he says.
Yeah, I can agree with that. And there's a guy
Yeah.
around my neighborhood who drives around in a Scion XB or whatever, wrapped entirely in a gold wrap that says Trump in like 2-foot tall letters across the side of his truck.
I know
That's
someone
called being
who
a- that- no,
drives
that is
in a
called- that's called being
motorcycle
a
and he
Trump-
has this massive Trump flag that he just
That's called
rides
being
to
a
the
Trump
back
card.
of it.
That's called being a Trump card.
I guess. But it looks ridiculous.
I mean, I can appreciate to an extent, like the
Dedication.
desire to like have a leader. You know, I think that I think there's a there's an element of that that's a good thing.
I think it's been carried a bit too far.
I
I
mean,
mean-
well, okay, I appreciated the Trump phenomenon back in 2016 because I would say that back in 2016, the Trump phenomenon, when it initially hit and he became president-elect, there was definitely something there that you could say you could see in previous other movements that people ultimately have some sense of wanting to have a yearning. As Carlyle actually mentions this with the Chartist movement, where he doesn't necessarily think Chartism is good enough,
Yeah, super.
but at the same and actually doing something, but at the same time he points to saying that, there is something with the working class here that the elites are just they don't get yet. Like, you can clearly see something's wrong within Victorian England, despite most of the economists who claim that it was the most prosperous time in the British Empire, the GDP was up, and so on and so forth. You can almost see it sort of mirrors something similar to our present day of today. You get what I'm saying, Politicrat?
Yeah. Yeah,
I
they're
get what you're
definitely-
saying too.
They're definitely in that sort of stage of empire. If you want to go back to like is everybody familiar with John Bagot Glove?
Nope.
I've heard of him.
No,
Fate
he's
of
like the
Empires.
Fate
and
of
then-
Empires, about how it started
Yeah.
with the Age of Pioneers and goes all the way to the Age of Decadence. We're at the tail end of the Age of Intellect, the American Empire, and we're about to go to the Age of Decadence, more or less. So it's like a universal, 250-year cycle that all empires go through.
That's an interesting point. I'm not sure whether or not I
So-
fully agree with that, but interesting.
It also fits into Spengler's wider theory of
Spengler.
of the civilization cycle, but it specifically focuses on empires, which usually tend to rise about halfway through a civilization's lifespan. But we're getting off topic. But yeah, no. But back to Biden, what I think he's going to be for stability. Here's my theory. The only reason he was pandering, and I've said this many times before on this stream, well, not this specific one, of course, but many times before on the Political Pigpen, I have said that Joseph Biden is more or less, or he was pandering. The reason he wasn't speaking out against like BLM and the more radical, and this isn't, again, which is a disclaimer, this is not even a criticism of BLM, is I think that generally the message they stand for is good, but I don't like their tactics for the most part, and I don't particularly care for the organization. But the movement, as generally, I think, is positive, quote unquote. But anyway, what I'm saying is, I think the reason he did not call the elements of BLM that carried out violence, he did not call them out for their violence, and he sort of downplayed Antifa. It was like, oh, well, he was like, well, there, man. It's a bunch of malarkey. Antifa's just an idea. I mean, like, yeah, no. So I think that the reason he was saying that, he did it intentionally. He does it for votes.
Yeah, he is a politician.
The thing is, he doesn't actually support Antifa. He wants their votes. And the minute he gets into the White House, the thing is, the Democrats, they're criticizing Trump for cracking down on like the Antifa riots and all that stuff because they want their votes.
They want to
don't
score
actually,
political points.
they don't actually support Antifa. The thing is, as soon as they get in, they're criticizing Trump because he's Trump. The moment they get into office, they're going to be doing the exact same thing that Trump is. They're going to be sending
I
bands
actually,
there.
to a certain extent, disagree with you on this point.
Well, let me finish my point here, Aristocrat.
I think if you would have gotten Bloomberg, that would have happened.
Hold
but
on, Aristocrat. Let me finish here.
Yeah.
What Biden is going to do is he's going to start cracking down just as much, if not more, than Donald Trump was. Because the thing is, the establishment Democrats know that they have way more to gain. They have way more to benefit from attracting center-right supporters, and even conservative supporters, than they do from the far left. The Bernie Sanders, Bernie babies, AOC, Cummies crowd. Like, they have nothing to gain from courting them. And I'm sorry, Kyle Kalinske, if you're listening, which you're probably not, but your whole thing about Bernie being popular and his policies being popular is a bunch of bunk. Like,
Socialism is not generally popular in the U.S.
It is very unpopular. Plus, even if there are people, like, it baffles me that people legitimately believe that socialism is a viable ideology. The thing is, it is ideologically sterile. There is never going to be socialism, no matter how hard people try. Historical entropy has prevented socialism from ever being a viable ideology.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know about that. I mean, it's definitely. I wouldn't consider myself a socialist, but I mean, I think that we've seen. The
welfare aspect. Maybe we can incorporate the welfare aspects is one thing, but like seizing the means of production, that's something else entirely.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if we're gonna hit like a full worker owned, but I mean, I mean, the democratic socialism of mid 20th century Northern European countries didn't work that bad, right? I mean,
are you referring to social democracy more so?
Yeah, I mean, I know that the socialists aren't really gonna claim those people per se, but I don't know. I think that it's not. I mean, it's. I mean, even if you look at like I'm going to tank here. Even if you look at the Soviet Union, right? They like where they took Russia from to where it got to. It's not like
It's not like so many millions of people died. What's your point?
Like it's not as if they didn't put together a country which functioned.
I wouldn't call that functioning. I'm sorry. Like, didn't like 30 million people die in the Soviet Union? Most of them due to starvation.
It's more like 25 million.
Okay.
Guys, are we getting off topic? I thought
Yeah,
were
we
kinda
are. Let's save this for another conversation. Actually, wait,
Libertarians are gonna go for
I will give you guys till
There'll be an apology.
11. I will give you guys till 11:39 Eastern Standard Time, and then I'm going to cut you guys off. Continue.
All right, so
What?
we have a minute. Socialism bad.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a socialist, but I think that to call it a complete failure is overstating the criticism.
I mean, not all of their people died.
No, that's the thing is that's why I think fascism is more dangerous than socialism because fascism actually works.
Really? Wow.
I mean, corporatism isn't too bad, comparably speaking, although I would prefer a feudal monarchy.
I mean,
I mean, have you ever heard of Hans Hermann
Maybe
Hofer's
wait
Democracy, the
until-
God that failed?
oh, of course, but no. Wait until the Iron Age ends, and wait till we get back to the Golden Age. If I'm gonna put the perennial tradition, if I'm gonna take the perennial traditionalism take here.
Man, I just feel like giving the government massive amounts of power in any system is a really bad idea.
I agree.
I mean, ultimately speaking, that power is going to centralize into one authority. No matter what, power naturally will centralize.
but then this civilization will end, and it will start all over again.
I
If
remember.
you really think about it, the
Owl, you
libertarian
remember-
view is Sisyphean, and it's understandable why it attracts so few people, but I'm kind of
Owl,
getting
you
off
were-
topic.
You remember our stream with Klaus, right? Like from I think it was about 8 months ago.
Spangler?
Oh yeah, it was like not specifically the decline of the West, but it was focused specifically on like patterns of history and that sort of thing.
I think I remember that.
It's still
Stream.
on it's still on Klaus's channel. But
Right.
anyway, yes, we're getting off topic. It is 11:40 Eastern Standard Time.
Do you want me to give any of my analysis on the Biden-Harris?
Yes, I would. Actually, let me finish my point that I was making before you guys got into that little
Okay.
corridor and fog. But yeah, no. So I think that Biden is specifically going to be trying to court the more center-right vote, and the only reason that he was pandering to people on the far left was just for votes, and he's going to fucking turn on the moment that he can, and I think it's going to be hilarious.
Oh yeah, he's not gonna go for the far left. I don't.
No,
think.
dude, he's basically a Reagan Democrat. Like he's basically where Bill Clinton was.
But also
Because,
keep
like,
in
I
mind
mean-
the Republicans still hold the Senate, so they can't get too
Okay.
extreme.
Yeah. Exactly. No, because remember, Bill Clinton, for instance, Bill Clinton was. You could even make the argument.
He would be a
You
Republican.
could make an argument. Yeah. You could make an argument that he's right of center. In the
I
greater
have-
scheme of things.
With the current political parties where they are today, it's not a stretch to say he would have been a Republican today.
And then the same thing could be said. You could argue that Reagan would be a Democrat today.
I mean, it could be argued that he was a Democrat then, he just ran on the other party, but
Yeah, true. I mean, he was a Democrat up until like what, 1975?
I mean, he did no service to the Republican Party by passing the amnesty law in California, which gave citizenship to, I think, 2 or 3 million illegal immigrants.
I mean, the thing is, I'm actually very pro Latin American immigration, but that's a completely different story. That's what I'm gonna have to. That's what I'm gonna have to have.
So I see you're pro for the Brazilification of America.
Brazilification? No. Oh,
That's
the absolute state of GOP cuckery.
That's funny.
Yeah. I love, honestly, like I said, I'm not right wing. I don't identify as right wing, but I love right wing viewers and just their comments. And plus, Supa and I are in a similar server together. We get along.
Politicrat, let's be honest, you're basically right wing.
Hey, I do not identify. I refuse to identify by any economically. I will concede there.
Dude, you're like Sargon 3 years ago.
Except, yeah, but I'm not going to confirm or deny that. So
Yeah. I would say ultimately, though, on a Biden and Harris presidency, Biden himself, if we're just looking at what the presidency represents, Biden, I would say, is basically more or less a puppet to Kamala Harris, and Kamala Harris is basically going to try to officiate. Imagine if Obama had a third term, and imagine the race
who knows-
riots and everything who came.
somebody who actually knows me is refuting Owl's point. And this is a conservative I know. So
Wow.
but yeah, no. But anyway,
But anyways, what I basically would say, if we just look at the presidency of Biden alone and we don't take in the consideration of other things, if they get their way, it's basically just Biden's going to be a puppet to Kamala Harris, and Kamala Harris would basically push what Obama would want as a third term if he was in office. So if you thought the racial tensions were getting pretty high under Obama and things were starting to get worse, it's going to accelerate really fast. Now, Frame Games Radio, which is another right-wing reactionary who is also unironically a Jewish attorney, civil attorney
it's
lawyer.
not that ironic. I mean, it would be ironic if you were like a
But
Nazi.
what he
I
basically
have
was
some friends-
explaining
Oh.
within the Democratic Party and their direction is that they basically want to push for at some point to become what South Africa is, the South African National Congressional Hold is. And they want to have an absolute hold on the United States, basically. That's what the blueprint is. And they basically are going to use Latin America to make this happen.
Okay.
Now, what's going to actually happen, and certain people, I would say, within who are lobbyists, who, let's just say, they have a certain affinity for the United States still being the vassal state to a particular Middle Eastern country, I
Wow, I wonder which Middle Eastern country you're talking about.
yeah, I wonder why.
US is
Anyways,
liberty.
certain lobbyists who want the United States as a vassal state to a certain Middle Eastern country,
a certain lobby, a certain particular
yes, a certain
ethno-religious
group. Yeah, but anyways,
And I say that.
I
I say this is
actually think.
no. The funny thing is, I'm actually pro the country we're referring to, but I just think it's hilarious.
But anyways, guys, what I was gonna say is that there's gonna be a particular group that actually has a benefit to wanting a right-wing militarist group, Spartan type party within office,
An
just because.
interventionalist that'll intervene in the Middle East.
Yes, in a sense, because if the United States goes Democrat and the nation descends into anarchy, they're not going to have that protectorate anymore. And if they lose the America as its vassal protector,
they're
flattened. Basically screwed.
Oh yeah, you're not wrong there.
Basically, what I would say is that they actually there are certain powerful lobbyists who it would be in their best interest to keep a right-wing. I'm not saying right-wing full fascist.
Someone who would intervene on their behalf. I understand what you're saying.
But basically, it would be very much militarist in a sense that they would want protection, use them as
pro-interventionalist.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I mean, honestly,
right.
I mean, with regards to Israel, when was the last time we actually had a president that was not pro? I mean, honestly, every president since Israel was established as a state has been exceptionally pro-Israel, especially Donald Trump and Barack Obama.
Sure.
Well, let's be honest. If Kamala Harris gets into office, I can definitely see her going the BLM route. And BLM is basically just a face cover up for BLF, which is the BLF party of South Africa. Like, that's what BLM is going to turn into.
How so? I've never heard that argument before. I'm going to challenge that here.
Let's just be honest. Does anyone remember the 19... Oh wow, you're definitely gonna get this. stream demonetized.
It's
Do
not
too, but-
monetized.
It's not even monetized. I doubted it. No. I'm probably. Oh, by the way, so just anybody who's watching right now, subscribe to me. If I get 320 subscribers, I might even make it 220 at this point because I don't even know if it's possible. But by the 17th of December, which is exactly a month, I will donate 12 children's books to charity, to a local literacy council of mine, to give to underprivileged children so they'll have something to open up on Christmas. And if I what?
Really holding these kids hostage, huh?
Yeah, and if I get 400 subscribers by the 31st, by New Year's, I will personally make a video talking about how the movie Shrek is actually a criticism of eminent domain. I will literally make a video on Shrek.
Hang on a sec. Is that even a controversial statement? I mean, they were trying to take his swamp.
I mean, no, it's not. But I also might go into. I also might by the very end turn it into complete word salad about how he's like a Christ figure or some shit like that. And then I was also thinking about doing a political analysis of Cory in the House.
Now, I would like to see that.
Yeah.
That is my favorite anime.
That is the best anime. No, my a dear friend of mine, a coworker. She whenever I tell her that Cory in the House is the best anime, she's like obsessed with manga, and so she's like, no,
one of those people. Okay.
She's like, no, the Politicrat. It's not an anime, and she's really passionate about it. She speaks fluent Japanese, which is kind of cool. So. Which is it's actually really cool. Really cool. I like this person.
Is she technically white?
Very much so. Anyway, we're moving on.
Oh, she's one of those people.
No, okay. Let's not talk about my friends. Anyway, anyway, where were we? Israel?
Oh, I was basically trying to get into the state of the Democratic Party and what it's going to become.
I mean,
basically what I think is
Palestine.
It's basically trying to it's basically going to try to turn into, and what it hopes to achieve is what South Africa is. That's the end goal of them.
I don't know much about
South
Africa.
They don't necessarily care about the far left Bernie bros to an extent.
No, they're not Bernie bros, they're Bernie babies.
Bunny babies, whatever. They don't care for the far left socialists. They more care about wanting to maintain their own power, and they want to do so by creating, in a sense, a supermajority out of Latin Americans. Now, here's the thing that I see for the future of America. I actually do see a massive breakup of America. Where you're going to have different factions competing for different land and power. And this is sort of what I mean by the Brazilification of America, where that a friend of mine coined the term. But in essence, you're going to have multiple different powers fighting for control. So like the cartels are going to start to become an issue. You'll probably see California try to rise up as its own socialist utopia, and then
even if the thing is, even if California becomes a separate country, I think it's.
You're completely fine with that.
I think we would be in a better position if California became its own country.
Plus, remember, California would just become a vassal state of the U.S. anyway, because it would still be fundamentally independent. It would still be part of the American empire.
I mean, once we cut off the power grid and stuff, their solar panels are going to keep them running for like 20 minutes.
But anyways, what I'm trying to explain is that, guys, what I'm trying to explain with this is that you're going to have a destabilizing force within America, and that you're going to have different power groups competing for control.
I don't think America's actually going to split up. I just don't.
No. Well, it might briefly, and then we'll have
power groups struggling for control of the country, but I don't think it's going to separate.
So we might have a last war of the Roman Republic. I mean, a last war of the American Republic, and then then an Augustus will set us back on track and counteract the destruction of Western civilization for like another 475 years.
Well, America as a
476 years.
country probably won't maintain the
Empire-
border that it has.
No,
is
it'll
what I'm trying to
expand.
say.
It'll probably
It'll still be
expand.
around and it'll still have its own influence, but it won't be able to maintain the border that it holds
No,
within
the thing
America.
is, what it'll
I
do is
disagree.
no. We're the Roman Republic in decline right now. We have another 400.
I somewhat disagree with
We
you.
have another 476 years to look forward to. Once
I
I think we might as. What were you saying, Pog?
I don't know if Rome is the best.
I would say that it's more like where the collapse of the Roman Empire. I mean, if you look at the intellectual class of today, it's very much
No, the intellectual
Similar
class.
to-
No, the intellectual class that we're thinking of, that we have today, is more comparable to the intellectual class of the late Republic.
no, it's more comparable. Like, if you
No,
remember,
there
the
was no.
intellectual
But the thing
class
is, there
of the
was
late
no.
Empire. Those
Here's the
people
thing:
were
there was no
completely
intellectual.
useless.
There was no intellectual class in the late Empire, with the exception of the priesthood, which was actually responsible for getting civilization back on track again, for the paradigm shift, which led to the Middle Ages and the rebirth of the West, the creation of the Faustian civilization that we live in today.
Mm.
I don't know. I think a closer or better comparison would be
Babylon, maybe?
No, just the late Soviet Union.
Hmm.
I
Interesting take.
I think that there's a lot of sort of disintegrating belief in the sort of the central ideology of the country. You know, a lot of the institutions are eroding. We're not really able to maintain our infrastructure well. There's a lot of just general degradation happening. It doesn't seem as if we're going to have anything catastrophic. You know, I think much more likely it's just going to be just a slowing down of the motor. You know, so
Interesting. And you think maybe China would end up replacing us?
They're
As,
already on the
global
path to
hegemon?
do that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
I don't know.
China-
I think China as a civilization is further along than we are in the sense where it is closer to decline. I think that it's more so just like they're basically, and again, if you're going to go by Spengler's model, they are well into their wintertime period, whereas we are just at the beginning of a wintertime period. So I think they're going to decline before we decline.
Well, the thing about China is that within the Chinese Communist Party, most of the family members there, they have their own goals and wanting to protect and preserve their families.
China's not
And
even
if-
communist.
no.
They're hybrid.
No, what
the
I'm
thing
referring to
is,
the communist.
socialism
Listen,
always
dude,
becomes
I'm not-
fascism by necessity.
Dude, listen,
were you
I'm
saying,
not
Al?
meaning little communists. I'm referring to the communists, the quote, technical term of the Communist Party of China is what they're technically called.
Okay.
But anyways, the party members within there, if Xi Jinping can't actually secure them some sort of security that allows them to keep their families safe, you're going to have multiple power sections China break off into multiple countries, because most of those families are going to look out for their own families instead of the actual full interests of their. If Xi Jinping can't provide it, which
China's
there is a good chance that
it's a
he
very
won't.
family-oriented culture. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's why I think that in the future, China's probably going to break up into like 13 different city-states. Because
it's gonna be
families
it's gonna
in the
federalize.
party are
No,
gonna
it's on the
look
route
out
to
for
another
themselves.
warring states period.
I mean, there is a possibility it could do that later down the
That would be
future.
funny. So actually, on China, what is your opinion on for instance, you guys all know Styx Hexenhammer, right?
I know who he is and that he doesn't
I
wear
know
a
who
shirt.
he is, but I haven't heard of his recent work.
Well, okay, so he's been calling Biden Beijing Biden. So I think we all
I
kind
think
of know
he's
where
earned
we're going.
that. Yeah.
Okay, so you think that is really my only major fear with Biden, that he's going to, I don't want to say sell us out to China, but he's going to be too friendly with China.
I think that sell us out to China is probably accurate. I mean, literally sell property to China.
Okay.
They've already been doing that.
It looks like someone thinks we have too much confidence in China breaking up. Huh.
Yeah,
I have
don't think
no
that's
idea
true.
if they're going to break up or not. I'm not confident
I-
about how
I-
they're going to turn out at all.
Listen, I'm not
yeah.
saying that it's going to be a complete breakup. All I'm referring to, well, is the fact
It's
that
gonna
if
be
Xi
like- it's gonna be
Jinping
like a-
can't deliver
a Vince
on
Vaughn
the
movie.
security for his inner party members, most of those party members are going to start formulating their own family dynasties within China, and China's not going to have the unity that it once has.
I think
basically
it
talking
depends
about
on
not
whether or
gonna
not they
bomb
have
that
military
right?
support.
So okay, so I think Supa, I think he's basically suggesting that it's not going to be so much of a fall of the Chinese Empire as much as it's going to be like a crisis of the 3rd century.
I just don't know what your basis for this claim is, like that there's severe disunity in the CCP.
I don't think there is. Like, and when I say there's going to be balkanization in China, it's going to be within a century or two.
I mean, they
Like,
don't
Russia
allow
is going to
I mean,
balkanize much
maybe.
faster.
If your time horizon's a century, I mean, who the hell knows what's going to happen? But like in the foreseeable future, I mean, China's on the upswing. I mean,
Oh yeah, totally. No,
larger-
again, they are an empire on the rise.
Are you kidding me? Have you seen their debt? Have you
Okay.
seen how they've been building their real estate and the way they've tried to manage their economy? It's absolute garbage.
I mean, the ghost cities are kind of funny.
They are hilarious.
They are funny.
No, I think no. But when I say an empire on the rise, I mean empires are only at their peak for a very short time. So they're just going to fall apart. We're honestly okay. I'm going to go all super black pilled here. The most likely scenario for a civilizational collapse is going to be like the late Bronze Age. Like everything fucking falls apart. Like Fog, you're pretty religious. Like you've read the Book of Judges, right? That entire book, like it's set during the Bronze Age collapse. Like we know, like the Book of Judges. A lot of people don't make this connection, but it takes place during the Bronze Age collapse. That entire fucking thing is about just the decline of society, falling apart after like all the shit that happens. There's going to be a domino effect, like there was, and then we're going to have the fucking Sea Peoples, and I don't know who the Sea Peoples are going to be. Maybe it's going to.
I mean, give it about
know.
60 years, and Russia will probably become the.
Russia's falling
Unironically,
apart.
will become. No, I said give us 60 years. Russia has
Russia's
to
going
try
to
to
be.
stabilize.
Russia's going to be the 60 years. Russia's going to be the first failed nuclear state. That's what my old boss.
I mean, it already became
always told
the
me.
Soviet Union was already the first failed nuclear state.
Technically, yeah.
Technically, yeah. Anyway, I'm sorry.
The reason I say Russia's going to probably unironically be in the ascendancy in 60 years is because America's already screwed. China's going to be screwed. Europe's most likely screwed. Like Russia will unironically be sort of like the British Empire after World War I. It wasn't necessarily the reason it was on top wasn't because it was superior. It was because it was the last man standing.
Yeah.
In that
Everybody
scenario.
else like put their entire population on the war. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So unironically, Russia will probably be in the ascendancy, mainly due to the fact that it's the last superpower that if it can at least hold itself together for long enough, it'll be the last one standing.
I
have no idea.
Yeah, Supa. I consider Russia a Western power too. Honestly, it's a West. It's been basically captured by the West and been turned into a Western nation ever since Peter the Great.
I guess
there's a lot of history you kind of glazed over there.
They've tried to break away, but the thing is, I think that the civilization of the Byzantine Empire ended with Peter the Great, because the thing is, Russia was the future of the Byzantine Empire after the Muslims conquered
Again, you're kind of
Constantinople.
glazing over a lot of different reactionary monarchies that have been fighting that liberalism with inside there. You also glazed over the fact that after the death of the Soviet Union, Russia kind of
Okay. To be fair,
has its
Vladimir Putin, and so this is where I honestly do kind of want, and this isn't because I'm like some kind of like, I'm not a Vladimir Putin stan or anything, but I do kind of want to see him proclaim himself czar, because at least he's going to be honest about, at least he'd be honest about what he actually is. Because the thing is, the creation of the Russian Federation was really just a restoration of the Russian monarchy. But he just needs to create a dynasty. I'm serious. Even like, I was talking to a professor of mine. She wasn't a Russian history professor, but more so on the history of technology. And she was like, yeah, honestly, at this point, at least Russia would be like showing its true colors, and it would be honest about what it is, and we all need honesty. So, yeah, no, Putin unironically needs to just fucking declare himself czar at this point.
I mean, unironically, I wouldn't mind having a monarch for the first time in 100 years reemerge.
Yeah, that would be fun.
Also, I would really like the United States to admit itself that, yeah, we're kind of a press-controlled state. I mean, we all know about state-controlled press, but no one ever talks about a press-controlled state.
That's actually kind of funny. Okay, anyway, back to Biden. Aristocrat, are you done with pretty much what you were saying?
Yeah, unless you want me to go into the Trump side effects of what's going to happen since the Republicans actually took Congress.
Let's move on. Let's move on to that. Let's move on to that in about 20 minutes.
Okay.
I want to keep
talking
about.
I'm about done for now.
Okay, we're gonna, like I said, we're gonna go to about the average Political Pigpen episode these days about 2 hours 25 minutes. So we'll go for another 45.
Okay.
So yeah, but anyway, Fordor, you haven't talked in a while. Do you have anything to say about your predictions?
I'm not really a history buff, so you guys are talking outside of what I know.
Yeah, no. So we'll move on from the history. Again, I think I really need to start that philosophy/history live stream so we can talk about more about this, because I always try to sneak a bunch of stuff into my political ones. But yeah, no, we need to get back to contemporary politics. Fordor,
what's up?
Predictions for a Biden administration.
I don't think he's going to get anything done that he wants to get done because the Republicans won't go for it and they control the Senate.
How so?
Because they have more people than the Democrats.
Well, yeah, but do you think that Biden might
executive
be more
orders, maybe, but we also control the Supreme Court, so those can get overturned. It'll take some time, so we can do some short-term damage.
No, Chevron deference would basically allow executive orders and.
Danny, hold on. I just need to respond to a viewer. Danny, we're currently discussing about our personal theories of what we think a future Biden administration is going to look like. This is like part 4 of the stream at this point. We were talking about Russian geopolitics just a second ago, but that was kind of more of a sidetrack deviation. So, but yeah, no, right now we're just talking about what we think a Biden administration is going to look like. So Fordor's talking about the court right now. So.
Yeah, we control the Supreme Court. If he doesn't stack the court, we control that. So any executive orders he puts through will only be short-term damage until if they're unconstitutional, which I think there's a pretty good chance he's going to try and do some unconstitutional stuff.
Like every president since, like, what, Reagan?
A lot of presidents, yeah. Anyway, yeah, I think that'll get anything he does in that realm will eventually get overturned. It takes time for stuff to make it through the courts, so he can definitely do short-term damage. I think that he's going to do another COVID lockdown. That's pretty much a given. And he's
that's what scares me the most. Like, I don't even dislike Biden, but I'm just I'm just scared about the lockdown aspect.
Yeah, no, I mean the U.S. economy, I don't think can really take it at this point. Like there's so many people out of jobs due to that right now that
I think we should just send the us millennials / Zoomers, to go work.
and all the people who have already had it.
I mean, I currently work in a restaurant, but if he shuts down the restaurants entirely, all I know is I'd be moving. I'm like, screw that. I'm going straight to trade school.
No, or that's an idea, or you just sell drugs.
I mean that
No,
always
I'm
works.
No, I'm
That's
not
a
criminal.
recession-proof industry right there.
That is.
I don't know.
I know.
I'm gonna be fine.
Hey! I found ways to buy my weed during COVID. So I haven't smoked since like July, but I mean, it gave me something to do during COVID. So
And I haven't smoked in quite a while, but I'm in basically the closest thing to a recession-proof industry. I fix computers, so all the
Exactly.
city governments are still running. They all still need their computers fixed.
I
The
won't
schools
I
are
won't-
doing
yeah.
remote learning stuff, so they still need tech support. All the businesses that are running on like skeleton crews still need their stuff maintained.
I won't go into details about what specifically I do with relation to them, but I work around books. I work like in an industry that involves books.
But that'll be a growth industry.
Oh no! Yeah, you wouldn't believe it. A lot of
half-priced
books. Book sales have, and puzzle sales actually.
Mhm.
I've got puzzles and books have gotten in demand ever since COVID, and I got furloughed for a week, but then I was hired back. But I had to go an hour to a different location for about a month or so.
Okay.
But then I went back to my old location.
It's pretty obvious that industry would do well when people can't leave their houses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone's reading. Everyone's playing with puzzles.
Yep.
Yeah, give something to do. Something.
I do enjoy physical books over PDFs. They're nice.
Oh, I don't even have a Kindle or a Nook or any of those things.
Nice.
Or even no. The thing is, I listen to fiction on audio and I read nonfiction because I feel like I'm going to need to source like actual nonfiction for the incredibly dense, boring book that I'm writing right now.
I mean, honestly, my favorite thing to do is read a physical book while listening to the audio recording.
That's what I did with Michael Malice's The New Right, if anybody's read that.
I tend to absorb the information a lot more reliably if I read it while listening to it.
Okay. Yeah, I can agree with that. I'm also listening to The Wheel of Time, and I've been doing that for a while.
Dude, that's what I'm currently reading. Again.
Really?
This is like the third time I've read it, but yeah.
The friend I was just telling you about, the one who speaks fluent Japanese, she couldn't do it. She could not get through that series. We were reading it.
Really? It's like the best fiction series.
Looks like Danny just sent out a message. Anyone else think that the Davos Clause show is just a cookie globalist?
Okay, what do you guys think of the Great Reset? Speaking of Davos,
I mean, it's definitely a thing. It was on the World, whatever it was, people.
World News Network.
No, the World Economic Forum website, was it?
Yeah, I think it's basically like cuckery.
They definitely know how to give it a spooky sounding name.
Yeah.
I mean, isn't that what Moldbug basically? Because I know he's in tech, but wasn't Moldbug more or less talking about? Didn't he call it the Great Reset? What we need to do to civilization or something?
Well, the thing what he was referring to in the Great Reset was he was mainly referring to contemporary politics as sort of a reset, or a better way of putting it is a sort of civilizational bankruptcy where you can clear away the old loyalties to reciprocal
Like what?
trust.
I know. Basically, what Constantine did. Who fun fact?
Sort of.
Who fun fact is my patron saint.
I don't know. I honestly.
Didn't know you were, wait, are you Catholic or Orthodox?
I'm Episcopalian.
Oh.
It's Church of England, basically.
No.
I don't know. I think the Great Reset I don't think anybody's really going to go along with it.
No, everyone knows it's shoehorned communism. No,
yeah.
actually, no, it's not even communism. It's more like it's really more like Demolition Man style corporatism. You guys all seen the Sylvester Stallone classic, The Demolition Man? And yes,
Of course.
Supa. Yes, Supa. Yeah, it is the Church of England. Basically, I'm only Protestant on a technicality. I'm like 95% theologically Catholic.
Catholic with divorce.
Catholic with a little less guilt. What's funny is I actually had a Catholic priest tell me once, so we were talking about religion once, and I told him I was Episcopalian. He was like, "Oh, so Catholic without the guilt, right?" And it was actually hilarious because it was a Catholic priest telling me that. But yeah. Anyway, so we were talking about Demolition Man. I feel like that's the most likely thing with sort of the whole like neoliberal corporatism. We're kind of moving more towards like Demolition Man / Brave New World. So basically, yeah, Demolition Man is like basically Brave New World plus political correctness.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Well, they're pretty close, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, but we just need an Edgar Friendly and a John Spartan to save us.
Ideally, I do actually hold to a sort of formalism. And the idea of formalism, it's not to necessarily, when trying to redistribute how the shareholders and how power works, it's not to perpetuate lies about democracy, but it's supposed to basically, in a simple format, take what power is and basically formalize it and to show in a more clear function how power actually works to the mass public, and show that, yeah, your votes actually don't really count as much as you think they do. Because, let's be honest, the New York Times and the press and academia, they all have greater shares when it comes to the power in the United States than you do.
They can sway
So,
public
in a sense,
opinion,
they basically have more power and
yeah.
If you would take
Media
a corporate,
definitely has a lot of power. Absolutely.
that's what I mean when I say press-controlled state.
I don't completely disagree with you on that point.
Yeah.
At least highly press-influenced state.
At this point, I can't disagree at all. But yeah. Anyway, so Fog. Theories for a Biden administration. We did Fordor. Now we have yours. At least in terms of how law and order and stability are concerned.
Yeah, I don't know if my takes are going to be too unique on this one. Yeah, I suspect he's going to do as you said and govern as a moderate. I think, he's probably. I think the most likely scenario is when you go and you listen to the doom posting on left-wing Twitter. I mean, he's just gonna govern like a neoliberal,
Yeah, no. Again, he's basically a Reaganite.
I don't know if I'd call him I mean, yes, yeah. I don't know.
I mean, he's basically for Trump's tax cuts, but you just didn't want to say it.
What do you think the odds of them invoking the 25th Amendment and having Kamala Harris have the power of the presidency are?
I don't know why Biden wouldn't just give up. I don't even think they would have to do that. I mean, I think if he's senile, he'll just resign.
On that note,
I
kind of want to share something sort of silly. I think we've all probably heard of it, but just keep a look on the screen. White nationalist Richard Spencer reiterated his support for Democratic President Joe Biden, Thursday. Days
Thanks.
after spokesman for the Biden campaign rejected Spencer's endorsement. Replying to a tweet Tuesday morning, Spencer wrote that he recognized how ineffective, useless, and traitorous the GOP is, reaffirming his decision to vote for Biden in the November election for stability.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
I
see.
mean,
Spencer's going on to the Nick Land accelerationist bandwagon.
Except the only difference is he's the only difference is he's a white supremacist. I wouldn't call Nick Land or Curtis Yarvin. I would not call them white supremacists.
Well,
No, they aren't.
I don't think Spencer's is being accelerationist here.
He's just being the thing is, Richard Spencer is a socialist. Like, I mean,
I
he's
don't
like a
really. I don't really follow Richard Spencer, but what I had heard the reason he was going to vote for Biden was because Biden was promoting racial consciousness.
No, yeah, no, exactly. No, he retweeted Ibram X. Kendi, who's like the how to be an anti-racist guy, who's basically like, because the thing is, what was funny was I can't find the tweet, but so he was so Kendi, who's like a professor at I think American University, African American. He's like a children of like a Methodist preacher or something, but he's like a big BLM guy. But he like uses it, he justifies it, I think, on like more Christian grounds. But so he wrote a famous book called How to Be an Anti-Racist, which I actually do have. I don't hate him, but I think he wrote a lot of bad ideas. But so no, I'm talking about Kendi. He's a BLM guy. But so so he so what he did is he tweeted he tweeted after Amy Coney Barrett was what do you call
Ratified?
it? Yeah. He ended up tweeting that her adopting of Jamaican children was racist and colonialist, and that they shouldn't have done that, and it's like erasing their blackness. And then Richard Spencer ended up retweeting him and was like, "Amen, brother." So he was like, "Amen, I agree with you." And so it's like they're supporting the same shit now. It's like, what the fuck is going on?
I mean, honestly, that the black identitarians and the white identitarians tend to support the same stuff a lot of the time.
Yeah. Like
the only time I've encountered Richard Spencer was when he did a stream with Keith Woods. At one point.
Fogg, what do you think of Keith Woods?
I mean, I honestly don't follow him too closely.
Okay, I know you mentioned him in the past. I know you're not like a huge fan, but I just remember you like mentioned him in the past. So
yeah, I don't agree with Keith Woods on everything, but he has interesting ideas, I could say the least, at least just as a thinker in general. If you guys can understand that.
I just don't I don't know. I think Keith Woods is too fascist for me.
No, I guess just to tie up my earlier point about Biden, I think that as a rule, the like when the state is led by like the cast of people that it was designed for, it tends to function better, right? And so, I think we saw under Trump a sort of autoimmune response by the state to try and eject him, and I think that recognition, right, that like when the upper middle class, the upper class, the party that they support is behind the levers in the executive office, the thing's just going to run smoother. And if you come from it from that direction, like the position of the position of people who just view the thing pragmatically, probably like Richard Spencer, right? Like if you just want the thing to function well, and then you want to get on with your, and I don't know if this is his position per se, so I don't really want to go, but if you just if you want to do your political organizing, your political evangelizing, whatever, in a state, you want the state to be well functioning. So I mean, it's not like it's not a terrible idea to vote, in that direction. Obviously, Trump is a destabilizing force,
Yeah.
So yeah,
That was why he was elected.
Yeah. A lot of them were just doomers, and like you guys know what collapsitarianism is, right?
No, but I can guess from the name.
Yeah, it's basically libertarians who are like libertarianism can only be achieved by collapsing the state. A lot of them were voted for fucking Trump because they're like Trump's like the
Accelerationism, yeah.
yes, and then that's also why a lot of people voted. That's also why a lot of libertarians in the primaries voted for Bernie back in 2016 on Super Tuesday.
I mean, guys, in order to have reterritorialization, you first have to have
The hiccups.
deterritorialization. Nick Land.
I've never heard that. I haven't really read much Land. I've read Yarvin, but not much Land. I know Land just seems like he's not as interesting.
Okay, with Land, he basically takes a lot of his conception from his philosophy and Fangnomialism and Fangnomial from Deleuze and Grottoli. That's basically those are the two thinkers he basically derives most of his philosophy and worldview of accelerationism. If I remember correctly, Chad Haig actually has a 3-part series on this.
Chad
Haig.
I think I know.
He's a YouTube philosopher who does a
No,
lot of interesting.
Wait, I think I just discovered him for the very first time. That particular YouTuber, about 7 hours ago, because I was trying to find videos on the traditionalist school of perennial philosophy, because I've really been getting into perennial traditionalism lately.
Dude, you just swing wildly amongst these these just random and ideologies.
No.
That's the
Perennial
that
traditionalism has nothing to do with politics. Has nothing to do with politics. It's more metaphysics.
Okay.
It's more about like metaphysical truths and about how like we've kind of lost touch with like ever since the world's become more and more materialistic, we've lost touch with our spirituality. That's basically what it is.
I just sent you a link in the chat that.
Okay, we should really get back to topic.
Yeah.
Going to Biden. But yeah, so culturally speaking, so I think most of us, with an exception of Fordor, pretty much agree that Biden is going to be a much more stabilizing force in the political sense.
I didn't say he was going to be unstable. I mean, it's a return to like business as usual, I think.
Okay. But interesting what Danny Wong is saying. Low-key wish Trump would run as a Democrat in 2024. He needs 50 million plus base to wipe President Kamala in the primaries. Then he can beat Rubio or Hawley in the general election. That would be funny. However, the thing is, I think the only reason Trump ideologically, how many of you guys would agree that ideologically Trump is more of a 90s Democrat?
I would say that he's basically a New York centrist, center-left Democrat.
I mean, he was in the Democratic Party at that point.
Up until like what 2014? Up until 2014, he was a fucking Democrat.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no. So I don't think it's unlikely. But I think the only reason he ran I think he would have run as a Democrat.
He wouldn't have won the primary.
No, he would have run as a Democrat if he thought he could get elected.
Yeah.
The thing is, Trump doesn't really have an ideology except like
he wants people to like think good of him.
No, the thing is, Donald Trump doesn't watch. This is this is a joke that I've always said. Donald Trump doesn't watch porn. Doesn't jerk off to porn. He jerks off to videos of himself jerking off.
I mean, I wouldn't doubt it. He's definitely a
Politicrat, was
narcissist.
there anything else you wanted to cover with this post-election stream?
Yes. Yeah. No. Okay. So that's what I was going on to. Culturally, what would you see a Biden administration, as a Biden administration, what would you see it being like in the cultural sense? Would you see us stay pretty much how we are, or would you see us moving more farther left on culture?
I think that's actually kind of hard to predict.
Cultures generally move left, so I think it's a pretty safe prediction. It's going to continue moving left.
Yeah, I think the most likely scenario is a slow creep left. I do think that there are forces going the opposite direction for that, though. For one, you have China increasing as a hegemonic power, right? I mean, a lot of the reason why I think I would have to moderate some of its sewer pipe is so that they can actually sell it in China, right?
Yeah.
And you also have, if we're going, I mean, as our immigrant population increases, if that turns back on again, I think you have the Democrat Party is a little afraid of losing the Latino vote in 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
So they may slow their roll on social progressivism for that reason as well.
The thing is, I think that's
mean,
actually.
they
I
might
think that
lose
is actually
the Cuban vote, but the Latino Mexican vote, they most likely maintain that Democratic stronghold.
Here's the thing: I think pragmatically, if the Republicans if conservatism wants to win, conservatives want to win, especially on the abortion issues, they need to suck it up and embrace Latin American immigration, because Latin Americans are among the most religious.
Catholic.
Yep. And Catholics are disproportionate. Even Catholic so 60% of Catholics are Democrats, and 50% of them are pro-life.
Mm-hmm.
You have
only 50%?
No, I think it's more like 70%. 70%, I think, of Catholic Democrats are pro-life.
That's a little more optimistic than I would be on that.
I don't know, but I think that
I'm a lot more negative on that.
That is why Donald Trump did not nominate an evangelical Christian for the Supreme Court, because he knew that if he nominated a conservative Catholic, he knew that would put the Democrats between a rock and a hard place. He knew that the Democrats would be way more hesitant to criticize her.
Actually, I think there's a 4D IQ high IQ chess move that he was doing for all three of those.
So too.
Okay, listen.
No, because the thing is,
so unironically, Gorsuch, Kavanaugh, and Barrett, all three of them technically were.
Hold on. No, I'm just saying. Sorry, Owl, but I need to finish my point. The whole thing about. Oh, hold on. Oh, I was trying to unmute him, but okay, no. Anyway, what I was saying was,
guess you're permanently muted now.
No, he's like, no, you won't mute me. You won't mute me. I'll mute myself. I love you, Owl. No, but what I was saying was so the reason that the Republicans nominated a conservative Catholic was because they knew for optics it would be terrible if. Or they knew the Democrats would think that for optics it would be terrible to criticize her for her religion, because 60% of Roman Catholics are Democrat, and they'd really risk. And if they criticized her for her religious views, they'd severely risk losing part of the Catholic vote.
Oh, by the way, I looked this up. Apparently, in 2016, Pew Research showed 51% of Catholics in the U.S. think that having an abortion is morally wrong.
Those are terrible numbers.
I love that you're saying that, especially as somebody who is religious Catholic.
No, I mean, come on, only 49.
Those are terrible numbers. Those are, and the funny thing is, I'm probably the only one here who's actually pro-choice.
No,
So-
I'm pro-choice.
Are you? No, but the thing is, I'm anti-abortion, but I'm pro-choice. But that's because I'm a believer in property rights, and I think that you own your body.
Okay,
I'm what you call an evictionist, if you know what that means.
I gotcha.
It's like we'll get into that another time. I remember I was gonna have an outreamer on that chat. We're gonna have an abortion debate, but that's probably not gonna be for another few months because I have a big lineup. Do you guys know who Kevin Castley is? He's like a Twitter neocon.
Oh.
Yep, I'm having him on
neocon.
I'm having him on for a foreign policy discussion.
You know, I would love to debate a neocon.
I'll have you on that stream. It's basically going to be a sequel. Remember when you were on the foreign policy stream back in August? Yeah, it's going to be a sequel to that if you want to come on.
Cool. I'll argue the Monroe Doctrine with that guy. He'll probably hate me.
No, I'm going to be arguing. We're going to be on the same side. We're definitely going to be on the same side.
I definitely like the Monroe Doctrine. We just
Yeah.
I'm very
perhaps it's in
pro
our
Monroe.
hemisphere.
I mean,
very
I'm probably
pro-Monroe
not
Doctrine.
necessarily pro Monroe Doctrine, but I would argue that just because I know it would probably piss off the neocon.
Yeah. Anyway, so any last minute thoughts on the election? Not even last minute. We'll go for another 10 minutes. But just with regards to the election, with regards to the fraud or the quote unquote election fraud, I do find it interesting that Fox News is turning on Donald Trump. I actually find it kind of hilarious.
Yeah.
Like Tucker Carlson is literally calling Trump a crybaby.
Tucker Carlson did?
What?
Tucker Carlson did?
Yeah.
I missed that.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna keep my
He's
eye on
basically-
the lawsuits. That's for sure.
Yeah. Oh no, that's going to be interesting.
There's still like I still hold there's like a 5% chance that a few key states could flip in lawsuits, but it's like
Yeah,
a
but I don't think
5% chance.
I think it's less than a 5% chance that Trump's going to win. But the main reason I hope he doesn't win is because can you imagine what the outrage is going to be after that? How much fucking rioting there's going to be?
Man, I want to see it.
You gotta get Rubicon done.
Honestly, I've seen enough of this degenerate, pathetic country that I just want to either move somewhere where I'm completely safe and watch this country burn. I've seen this country go so socialist. I'm like, you guys deserve to die.
Dude, it's not that bad. I don't know. I don't know why you're so. I mean, I don't think it got to be so black-pilled, man. Like I mean,
This is you. Hey. This is you. You're pretty much Francis Parker Yaki at this point. Except minus the racism.
I mean, to be fair, I am pretty black-pilled. Well, on the absolute state of America, I'm black-pilled. Currently, right now, I've been having a conversation with Outrima on potentials of what we could do.
You know Outrigger?
Yeah. He's one of my close friends within...
Oh. Well, then what? Do you know him in real life?
No.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, because he and I actually are friends like in real life. It's cool. Yeah. Anyway, we'll talk about that later. Maybe we'll do meet up sometime. But
no, yeah, I don't really. I mean, I think the status quo in America is not really that bad. I mean, it's definitely suboptimal.
Could be worse, yeah.
It could be dramatically worse.
I don't know. I just think a lot of the boomer cons, like the boomer cons who pretend to be far right, like
I mean,
culturally, just cringe. Just cringe.
Okay, at most of what I would say, the good that you could say a Biden presidency could come to, and all the sleazy pools that they recently did of what I said of playing their cards right, the most it could come from is the fact that the Republican Party can no longer hide this up and pretend that, well, we're just going about our daily Constitution. Like at that point, they can't keep the reactionaries out of the party anymore. Like they're gonna,
Sure, they can.
and that I think could be a good thing.
I think the Constitution is important.
I think it's important too, but I don't think anybody I was talking about. So, like I said, I work around books for a living, and I was basically telling one of my coworkers, what we need to do is we need to promote like classic books that nobody reads anymore. Like we need to promote The Decline of the West by Oswald Spengler, which is actually pretty popular thanks to me. Like I've been marketing it, and it's actually had an upsurge in sales. So, and then I'm like, so that, and then we also need some like obscure philosophy, but we need like some more. We need some more Kant. We need some more Schopenhauer.
Oh,
we need some more
gosh,
Thomas.
Please,
We need some, we need some more Thomas Aquinas. We need some more Augustine.
We need more.
No, listen. We need some more. We need some more Augustine. We need. I was like, we need some more. Oh God, what was his name? We need some more.
So just the standard Western canon.
No, not even the Western canon. The more obscure people in the Western canon. We need some more Heidegger.
These
And
are obscure people. That's like Augustine. I mean, all the people you just mentioned are the standard canon.
No one reads them anymore. Then I was like, we need some more Deleuze, and we also need the Constitution.
I mean, I think
I don't want to
definitely have a working knowledge of the
No,
Constitution.
that was the joke I was going for, though. Like the Constitution is one of the most underread works of. Yeah.
I mean, it's just like the brainchild of John Locke. I mean,
yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean, yeah. I mean, you really think Heidegger's underread? I mean, maybe amongst like, I don't know.
Normies.
But like, I mean, dude, I don't think you can really get into Heidegger without a lot of prior.
We need more Carl Schmitt.
I was about to say that.
Yeah,
you were thinking of the same thing. I was about to say Carl Schmitt is severely underrated.
Yeah,
Carl Schmitt and the friend-enemy distinction.
Okay, I have a question. So here's a controversial thing. So, like I said, I am not a fan of fascism at all. I think it's gay. But no, I'm not a fan of fascism.
No, you.
I don't like fascism. But is Julius Evola, for anyone is he worth reading?
Yes.
I don't know.
I generally don't believe in his personal philosophy when it comes to perennialism. But yeah, just because that would be preface on the notion that you can have multiple truths in different religions. And I believe that well, no, I think Christianity is the only true religion and tradition. But in terms of
you're more like Giambattista Vico then.
Yeah, but ultimately I would say Evola is good in terms of critiquing the modern world in general. That's mainly what his strong suit is, and arguing that there is a point to traditional.
He kind of corrupted a lot of the perennialist stuff. Most of the traditionalists are of the position that, for instance, Joseph Campbell, who was basically a part of the traditionalist school, but he never adopted the label. I know his critique of Evola was that he sort of tried to take perennial traditionalism and turned it into some sort of more or less fascist pagan European thing, as opposed to truly looking to the East as a source of truth. But we're getting off topic again. I should fucking have John David Ebert on here to talk about this. I'm sure he'd be interested. Nobody probably knows who that is, but he's a pretty good YouTuber, but like a YouTube philosopher. But either way, we're gonna sort of move towards the end of the stream here. Everybody, we're gonna go one by one to each of you three. Final thoughts on a Biden presidency, starting with Fordor.
Yeah, I'm hoping he just doesn't get anything done, and that the government just pretty much stands still until he's done being president. Pretty hopeful it might happen.
That it?
Yep.
Owl?
I'm just hoping that with the Biden presidency and all the chaos that recently happened, that hopefully the reactionaries can make some sort of networking moves and can start infiltrating the Republican Party and yeeting the neocons. And
Oh, sorry.
another thing
No.
that I hope for is that, well, sort of what Forador said, and that with a Biden presidency and a Republican Congress, that most of the stuff might. There is a good chance that there are a lot of things that'll become a standstill. But at the same time, in terms of the court thing, I'm not as optimistic as Forador when it comes to the courts, because even within a conservative court, they do still abide to precedent in some particular sense. Like, for instance, they'll still allow Chevron deference, and that's going to give a huge advantage to the federal agencies over the Congress, especially as the fact. So that is a thing to take into consideration.
Fair
Sure.
enough. Anything else, or does Fog want to go? Depending on, I don't know if you're done, Aristocrat.
Nah, I think I'm about done. I've cleared up most of what I wanted to say.
And last but not least, Fog, my friend. What are your final thoughts on the prospect of a Biden presidency?
Yeah, I'm pretty neutral. I voted for Trump. I wish Trump would have won, but I mean, 2012 status quo ain't that bad.
Honestly, I actually, at least in terms of stability and in terms of like the aura that he put on in terms of his like statesmanness, I actually did not dislike Obama. I disagree with a lot of his policies, but I think he was a good
Especially
figurehead.
his foreign policy.
Yeah. Yeah, no, but I did think he was a fantastic figurehead. Probably best figurehead since Reagan, in my opinion.
Yeah, you can clearly see that aura glowing of Winston Churchill incarnate in him clearly.
And I'm a Churchill. I'm a Churchillite personally. I'm like a.
That was sarcasm, I'm assuming.
Yes.
I think. Okay, yeah, I was kind of confused what you were saying, but like, I don't see that Churchill. He's more of a neoliberal than Churchill. But yeah, no, the neoliberalism aspect is definitely easier. It's definitely less sincere, as opposed to somebody like Churchill or Thatcher. But anyway, so yeah, Joe Biden is probably going to be our next president. Sorry,
Likely.
Doomers. Sorry, Doomers. Sorry, Chicago liberal, if you're watching. I know you're not, because I know you have better things to do. No, he was watching earlier. But yeah, sorry, no, because so Chicago liberal, if anybody knows him, he did not want to come on this because he's like, no, I refuse to go on any post-election podcast / live stream because the election isn't over yet, and Trump is still probably going to win. I'm like, Chicago, give it up.
There's still a chance. Like,
I mean, there's still a chance, but
it's
he
not
thinks
decided. It's a slim chance. I'm pretty sure it's not going to happen.
I mean, well, a better way of saying this is that Trump has until the January 20 before the inauguration to try to win still.
But he's not.
Because once Biden is officially sworn into office,
Oh,
there's
yeah,
no way
that's
of
the point
actually.
of no return.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because in what time point in American history have you ever seen where they basically tried to yeet the entire presidential party, from the VP to the vice president to the Speaker of the House?
But it hasn't happened.
Yeah. Like, once Biden gets sworn in, it's official.
Yeah, that's game over for Trump's chances. They're not gonna undo the election once he's sworn in.
Yep.
What about 2024?
It's possibility, although I don't see him winning unless
No.
Biden does a really bad job.
Yes. Or Biden just steps down early on and gives it to Kamala, and she becomes the first.
And she does a really bad job.
Well, she's going to. She's a terrible she's a terrible
Yes.
human being and a
Yeah.
terrible politician.
I mean, what she did
depending
to prisoners,
on what they achieve with immigration, they might actually secure Texas and have a permanent seat to the Democratic. They'll become the permanent ruling class. But that depends if they can secure Texas through immigration.
As a Texan, Fordor, what do you have to say about that?
I hope that doesn't happen politically, but I really don't care, like, socially with the people around me, what race they are. Like, doesn't matter.
Yeah, fair enough. And then, so what about? Okay, so last thing, I kind of want to talk about. Hold on, I'm gonna pull up a graphic, but keep talking about something while I pull up this graphic.
Okay. It's not even certain that if Texas does bring in a whole lot of people from Mexico and Central America, that it is necessarily going to always go Democrat. They are highly Catholic, and more religious people do tend to be more right wing.
I don't know.
Except
Political showed about 70% of Catholics voting for Biden. Kind of.
Except Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez justifies her socialism on the fact that she's a Roman Catholic. It's weird.
I mean, there is distributism, so I mean, it is a line of thought within Catholicism.
Okay,
so
what the hell is that?
So Donald Trump might buy Newsmax or One American News and turn it into Trump TV. I think that would be hilarious.
He runs in 2024. That's going to be a conflict of interest.
If that actually happens,
no. He might do that. He might do that
seriously
instead of
consider paying for that just for the fact that it's titled Trump TV.
Same. It's gonna. The thing is, like, I think that's where Trump needs to. I think that's where he would like actually shine the most.
Where he would prosper. Yeah.
Yeah. He needs to just drop politics. He just needs to go and rant on TV. That would be fucking hilarious. I would subscribe. I would pay money to see that.
I would totally pay to watch him spout off on TV. That'd be great.
It would be funny. Like, I mean, it's just like old orange man rant.
Yells at cloud.
Yeah. No, but that's what it would be. It would be kind of endearing too, in a weird sort of way. And I say that as somebody who does not particularly like Trump, but I think that like I like a Trump on TV. I love Trump as an entertainer.
Oh, one thing I am definitely looking forward to is seeing the collapse of the media organizations now that they can't talk about Trump continuously.
No, yeah, the thing is, that's why I think that like people at the heads of MSNBC, a lot of the shareholders of MSNBC and CNN probably voted for Trump because
it's in their financial interest.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and that's why I think that the legacy media.
Well, no, what's going to happen is they're just going to go back to what they were reporting like during the Obama administration.
Well, yeah, no, I was just saying. I think
tanking.
The legacy media is a conflict of interest because it basically they pander to specific demographics. They create these like false meta narratives that divide the country just because they want to bank on. Yeah, this is one of the problems. This is my biggest problem with capitalism because I feel like it makes people really greedy, and they more or less leads them to unintentionally try to divide the country. Like I think capitalism is a generally good idea, and I'm a liberal, but
conflict is definitely like a financial benefit to them.
Yes, and that's where the conflict of interest. It's a conflict of interest against the body social, against the society.
Yep.
But on that note, everybody, thank you for tuning in to the Political Pigpen. It is 12:51 a.m. Went a little late, but I think it was a pretty good episode. Does anybody have any last things to say, like Fordor, Fog, Aristocrat?
No, I think we basically covered everything.
Okay. Well, thank you everybody for tuning in. Who did? I will probably be posting a video in a couple days. The one I'm working on right now is specifically focusing on the benefits that the church had in building Western civilization early on. I'm refuting an article that was posted by sort of like a classical liberal type guy who argued that the Enlightenment was more or less a successful rebellion against religion, whereas I argue that religion actually more or less created the Enlightenment, and that the Enlightenment was a secularization of already preconceived religious values. So this is basically a Sam Harris type. I'm criticizing his article. It's going to be about 40 minutes long, but I'm working on it. It'll be ready. Hopefully, it'll be posted before Thanksgiving. Well, that's what I'm working on right now. So stay tuned. We're going to have another episode of the Political Pigpen coming up on Saturday. Also, I'd like to remind all my viewers and all you guys who are watching who are not currently subscribed, if you're not, to subscribe, because if I get 320 subscriptions by the Saturnalia, the Roman solstice, which is December 17th, I will be donating 12 children's books to charity. So underprivileged children will have something to open up on the holidays. And if I have 300 views, 400 views by December 31st, which is, of course, New Year's Eve, I will post a video on Shrek on my YouTube channel. So, yeah. So, everybody, be sure to like, subscribe, hit the bell, do whatever. And I'll see you guys next time.